Today was kind of an informational video regarding the storefront. I think it'll be a really good one if you're thinking about opening any kind of storefront, juicery, cafe, whatever it may be. This is just gonna kind of walk you through what we've been doing for the past 3 months and the process, who you'll come in contact with, what kind of to expect, and some of the unknowns as far as opening a storefront. So it's completely different than a food truck in the sense of, like, a food truck is so simple. Pretty much all you're doing is the equipment and how you're making it and storing it. Like, that's it. You don't have to do structural and electrical. You don't have to, and you know what it comes down to? Nobody is walking inside your food truck. You're serving from it.
Is that what it is?
It is. And with the storefront, everybody, obviously people walk in here. A big part of the thing that you get is, what is it? I don't think it's your certificate for occupancy or what it is, but it's basically you've been approved for people to enter your facility. And once you have people walking into a building that is for business purposes, that's when the city comes in and says, okay, you're opening this up to the public. You need to make sure, we need to make sure that your building is structurally sound. We need to make sure that it's healthy, that it's safe. There's so many things, and it's a good thing that they regulate it, because if I want to go to a restaurant or to a retail spot or go shopping, I would hope that my city is protecting me from walking into a space that's not safe, essentially. But then there's also a part of that is, you know, just personal responsibility as a company and as personal freedom to do things. So there's a balance between, like, making sure your city and your state and your country is protecting you with these different laws, and letting a company have the freedom and, you know, kind of take the liability for certain things. That's the main difference between storefront and food truck. Nobody's walking into your food truck. So it's just a matter of, what are you preparing and are you serving it safely? Not so much you actually have a roof over your head. We need to make sure this is safe. So there's just a whole different aspect. So before with the truck, it was pretty much just the local health department. Think of, like, all the license and people that you have to have inspect. Sign off sheet. So all the agencies that have to approve this space is obviously the local health department, which looks at the equipment and what food you're serving and making sure you have all the equipment to serve the food you have, and just the sanitization process of it all. And then there's structural and electrical, which is a big one. This is a building and people are going to be coming in here, and we need to make sure that it is structurally sound and environmentally okay. So one of the big, like, woes was, I have a list so I make sure I don't forget anything. There was 2 things that our space, every space is completely unique, but that our space had kind of like a, we need to make sure. So one was a fresh air intake. So depending on how much square feet you have as retail or as public space, essentially, they require X amount of fresh air intake. So maybe that's fresh air comes in through natural ways, which is like windows and doors. And then there's like a calculation. You have so many windows and doors that are open, X amount of blah, blah, blah. You have this many square feet, you need this many windows. That's one option. The other option is like central, which brings in fresh air from outside and brings it in inside, and then that also is a calculation. This unit brings in X amount of fresh air per square feet that you have. We have window units, which I don't know all the details, and we're still going through all of this, but basically one of the things you don't think about is fresh air intake. We're gonna have people in here, we need X amount of fresh air. That's a thing. Another one was like our countertop. You have to have X amount of space between the countertops so that if somebody was in a wheelchair, that they could turn around. If you're not gonna do a turnaround, then it has to be open-ended, it can't be capped. They were telling us about a situation where these people had it so that the space between wasn't enough for a turnaround, which I think is like 5 feet or something. And since they couldn't do a turnaround, it had to be a flow through, and their flow through was like at the end of their countertop, they had a lever up kind of, what's that called? Top? Like, you could get to it, you would lift the lever up, go through, put the lever back down. But the structural and electrical people said that's not okay, it has to be completely flow through, blah, blah, blah. That people can move and operate safely in the space, which is a thing you are like, ah, yeah, duh, obviously. And then you put your plans together and you have your idea, and you know, it's off by 4 inches, but if you sacrifice 4 inches here, you sacrifice 4 inches there, and there's like it becomes like it's an obvious thing, but it's like a thing, you know? and it can be kind of annoying. So a big thing that we were concerned about is having enough space on our electrical panel. So whatever space you're considering, you know, obviously take into account the electrical panel and how much is already being used on the panel, how much free space there is, what equipment you have, and making sure that you have enough space on your electrical panel. Because to put another electrical panel is like $5,000, actually more like $8,000. Anyways, all of these things are things to consider when you're considering different options for opening a storefront. Would this space work well for us? Would this space work well for us? These are things to consider. Like obviously what material the floor is, how easily it will be to install plumbing. This space has a full basement, which is awesome. I'm trying to think of like what were some of the basic things we were going through when we were trying to choose a space. Obviously size and location, but then aesthetics, like would it take a lot of work to make it look cute and make it look to our feels. Some places are just hideous and you have to tear out the floor and you have to put in a new ceiling. It's just like, whoa, this is gonna be a lot of money and a lot of work. We wanted to find a space that had already just the cores of what we need. Like we don't have to replace the floor in here. We're unknown about the ceiling. We don't have to do anything to the walls really except for painting them. The core of the space, you really want to make sure it's good for you. Health department, they're going to have a whole list of rules for you. And these are all things to know before you're shopping for a space. I would strongly recommend you have a game plan and you know like what legally you have to do and you can't do and all this kind of stuff before you even get into a space and whatnot. Like we didn't sign the lease on this space till like months of looking at it and doing intensive research to make sure. You have to get approval from sewage disposal people, which makes sense. You need to make sure you're handling your waste well and that it's going to the correct places and all that kind of stuff. Water supply, make sure you're getting your water from the right people. Fire department needs to make sure you're sound, and especially if you're using cooking equipment and whatnot, oh my gosh, then they're really gonna be, we don't have any cooking equipment thankfully, but if you do, you're gonna have a whole nother thing to go through. Yeah, plumbing, building, heating, electrical, ventilation, blah, blah, blah. All right, so now we're just gonna go on to a bunch of tips that I have, because I have a lot, guys. Okay, in the very beginning process, once you find a space that you like, kind of sort of like, and you haven't signed the lease on it, but you're really considering it, find an awesome engineer, an architect. Find an awesome architect company. They're gonna do your schematic drawing, which is like your pre-blueprint drawings. It pretty much is a floor plan, very detailed floor plan and equipment plan that you can use to get quotes and you can use to kind of propose to people. They'll charge $300 to $1,000 for schematic drawings. It's just a detailed floor plan, but it's not a legal document. It isn't for construction or anything. It's just to say this is what we're doing. So hire an awesome architect and you'll be placed with an engineer and they'll know so much and look for one that has experience in what you're doing. So our architects are do a lot of the restaurants here downtown. They work in a lot of these old buildings. They are very familiar and have a lot of experience in the work that we are having them do. So they'll have tons of good tips for you. And they're the ones that do the drawings for the structural and electrical people, which are one of the main people that will tell you like, you need to do this, you need to do that. So it's really important you find a good one and just start communicating with them super early on the game plan and what you plan on doing.
Finding somebody, I think local that has a lot of connections is beneficial.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what shopping for an architect looks like. I just did local research and looked for somebody that had done buildings like ours before. But finding somebody who is local and got the in and knows all the people is really nice.
The
oh yeah.
Contractors, the electric,
They gave all the recommendations. They'll probably be the ones that give you your recommendations on contractors and whatnot too, because that's who they work with. They make the plans for the contractors and whatnot. So yeah, they've given us our electrical people and our contractors and our general contractor and all those people. Another good thing is for all these different departments, so health department, all these people, take them in the space before you do anything to get their general opinion. I think the key to all of this is to over communicate and to just research the crap out of it and make it so known to everyone what your plan is, and don't like try to hide anything or let things slide or whatever it may be, because basically the premise of this whole opening a storefront thing is you have your creative plan, your business plan, but then you can't do that until you get legal confirmation from all these people. And so what you want to do can't even happen until all this legal stuff happens. And you're just gonna get to your goal and plan of opening the business faster if you can just be honest with these people and be like, this is my game plan, this is what I need to do. Let me know, can I do it, can I not do it, how can I make it happen? And the more effort you put into accommodating their needs, and I shouldn't even use the word accommodating because it's like they're the legal people. Like you can't even do what you want unless they have it approved. But the more effort you put into showing like, hey, we want to do this right. We want to make this legal. We want to make this as healthy and as safe and as great as it can be. The more they're gonna be great. They're putting in a lot of effort. They want to do this right. Let's work with them. Like, not necessarily get on everybody's good side, but just show you care. And just in general, going through all of this, like it's all legal stuff, you know, it's making sure we're doing this right. You know, everyone for the most part has the best intentions. They just want you to have a safe place so that the city, the people you're serving are protected and whatnot. And just recognize that, like it comes at a high cost kind of, because nothing commercial is cheap. It's all for the good, it really is. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what to expect if you plan on opening a storefront. It is totally different than a food truck, and it is way more involved and lots more expensive. And well, I don't know, I'm curious to see which one will end up costing more because, well, the storefront will definitely cost more. Mainly just because it's a lot more equipment and it's just a bigger space. You know, you have like your reno costs, which are a lot of fixtures. There are lots of things that are like putting in new walls, changing the electric, but and those are considered fixtures to the property. But then you have like your equipment costs, which is more so like what's that word? You know, it's a personal, like we have this, we could sell it, whatever. It's more fluid. Juice is a little bit more different, and normally the health department and whatnot they're always a little bit more like, ooh, interesting, because they have not licensed juiceries before. In our area, we're the first juicery. And so it's not that it's all unknown, it's just more so that it's like, it's a little different than what we're used to. They're used to just like, you know, grills and ovens and baking and cooking things and selling them. And we're like, we make juice. Just the consumer industry is going more and more towards knowing what you're consuming and knowing the behind the scenes essentially and all the fine details. We don't consume blindly anymore or eat blindly. That's the same thing. It's going with more and more intention. We're knowing exactly where our money is going and exactly what we're putting in our body. And if we don't know, we're just gonna choose to pass and stick to what we do know. And so I just don't think pasteurized juice really is gonna be selling that much unless you're selling it for like $4. Then maybe somebody's like, and then you switch. You're going from, maybe I'm not buying this for a health reason, maybe I'm getting a little bit of health from it, but maybe I just want pineapple pear mint juice. That just sounds tasty to me, so I'm willing to pay $4 for something that sounds tasty. Same reason why we pay $2 for a vitamin water or $2 for a soda, because it's tasty, not because I want it for health reasons. I think in order to really succeed as a juicery, you have to offer other items. I think you either have to offer other food items, other beverage items. You have to offer more than juice, and preferably you need to offer it on a different consumer area. So there's certain people that will always love juice and they'll always buy juice. But if you want to get other people that aren't already juice lovers to buy juice, you have to offer something that isn't anything like juice. So, why would anyone who doesn't want juice walk in here?
I mean, do you think that just a juicery would fail?
Kind of. Unless you're in a place where people are obsessed with cold pressed juice and there are enough people that are willing to pay $9 for a bottle of juice consistently. I don't think just a juicery will last over 3 years. I think you'll kind of like, you'll kind of make it, but if you want to really go out with a bang, I think you have to offer other things. I'll more so put it like this. I don't think just juice, if you just sell juice, it will fail. But I think you will be way, way, way more successful if you offer something else that's in a different category to just bring more people in. The more foot traffic, the more likely they'll be to be like, oh, okay, I'll take a juice too. Why not? I like it, sure. And then they have it and hopefully they love it and they're like, I kind of want another juice. So then you turn people that don't like juice into people that do like juice. And the system just keeps going like this and like this and like this.
Are you gonna tell them what else we're gonna be offering?
No.
Sushi.
No.
Pizza.
And for that exact reason, we are offering more than just juice, but not initially. Our initial opening is just our juice and our vegan donuts, but we have lots more to come. And maybe it'll come in a month, maybe it'll come in 6 months, but it's coming. For those of you that have no interest in opening a storefront, actually, I don't know, you always watch those videos and you're like, this doesn't apply to me at all, but yet I still enjoyed it. Yeah. All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I don't know why we always do that. We keep going, peace.
The new outro. What did Charlie say?
They say, if y'all watch any of Good Nature's videos, they're just so fun to me. They go, peace, love, juice. Yeah. So, I'm not gonna put that in the video. Anyways, and guess what? Right now, we're closed.